I think we all want to be happy with our lives, though it can be difficult to figure out what exactly that means and how to get there. I've talked about long-term goals before, but I don't believe I mentioned that happiness itself is not actually a goal. It's a side effect of reaching goals. This is an important distinction to make because setting goals is only useful when you aim for things that are easy to track or are tangible things you can do. If you try to tie a long-term goal to something abstract that can change throughout the day, like an emotion, then how will you know if you've reached that goal? If you're happy one day and not the next, does that mean you've gone backwards? If you only want happiness, then couldn't you achieve that with some very questionable methods? Illegal substances, perhaps? How do you even know if you're happy enough? See, it becomes really difficult to be accurate about intangible and highly flexible things like emotions. Let's say that instead the goal was to, I don't know, run a couple laps around the block every day for a month. If you accomplish that goal, then your brain not only rewards you with good brain chemicals, I can't be bothered to remember what they are honestly, but this also trains you as an individual. You accomplish a long-term goal that you set yourself, which helps build confidence. Our brains are kind of designed to set and achieve goals, and our brain chemistry allows us to be rewarded for it. Pretty handy if you learn how to put it to good use. Now, the challenging part is training yourself to see things as achievable goals by default. This means you have to be able to figure out what you can actually do with a reasonable amount of effort. Setting the goal of taking over the world is a bit of a stretch, but you could first take over your local neighborhood as like a tangible start. That's a really dumbass example, but the idea is that even lofty goals can be broken up into smaller steps. This makes it a lot easier to feel satisfied with progress when you can accomplish small tasks that lead to the completion of a larger goal. It almost doesn't matter what those little steps are because all you need is something that you can either say you did do or you didn't do. There's a very good reason that having these measurable goals does make a difference. The human brain sorts tons of information constantly, all the time, and so it has to be extremely efficient to keep up. This means that certain processes are simplified, and one of those things is our tracking of long-term progress. It would take a lot of cognitive effort to keep track of all the little details of what we do like it's some kind of progress bar. Instead, we tend to default to a binary system that asks us if we did something, and the only answers are yes or no. If we set high goals that take a very long time and have no little steps we can focus on, then the answer to that question will always be no, we didn't do anything. It makes us feel like we haven't accomplished anything, even if that's not true. It's a simple type of logic we default to, not because it's the best way to do it, but because it's a lot easier to manage. We just can't comprehend every single thing at once. That's why instruction manuals have steps built in. And taking everything in manageable steps is what allows us to not only reach a sense of accomplishment and happiness, but it also allows us to reach the long-term goals we actually want. There was an old book about how to draw that I learned from. I think it was called like the Purple Book of Drawing or something like that. It was pretty old, but one of the things it taught me was the idea of breaking large drawings into little squares, and you only draw one square at a time. It wasn't that helpful for me, but it did introduce the idea of breaking a large task into multiple smaller tasks. That kind of stuck with me, and it took me a very long time to realize why it did. I have my own long-term goals I want to reach, and I have them broken up into steps I can take in the present right now. I would imagine you have some long-term goals of your own, or at least you have an idea starting to develop maybe. It doesn't particularly matter what exactly it is, so long as you can find a way to turn it into immediately actionable steps. Then you can definitively tell yourself that you're doing something, and you'll actually feel it. Eventually, those little steps add up. You might even find yourself closer to your goals than you expected one of these days, and perhaps one day. We will both find some happiness along the way.